Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our Stay at Home series, episode 3, Creating Work Opportunities. For some of you newcomers, my name is Nneka Symister, and I am your healthcare coordinator at the fund. We started this series because we wanted to work with the members and really pay attention to your needs and make sure that you're as mentally healthy as possible. And so episode 3 again is about creating work opportunities because we understand how much stress that causes you and how important it is for you to know what's next and how to pivot. Um, we are partnered with the Actors Fund, and I'm going to introduce Rosalind Gilbert.
Hi, thank you, Nneka. My name is Rosalind Gilbert. I'm Supervisor of Addiction and Recovery Services at the Actors Fund. It's been our pleasure to work with Nneka Symister, Bobby Score, and Tamar Shapiro, the National Director of Social Services at the Actors Fund, to develop this seminar series. Before we begin, I want to share information about the Actors Fund. As you may know, the Actors Fund is a human services organization that provides services to all who work in the performing arts and entertainment community. We offer a wide range of services, including social services and emergency financial assistance, career counseling, education and training, health insurance counseling and health care through the Friedman Health Center, Local 1's medical home, and a housing resource center and our own home located in Englewood, New Jersey. Most importantly, your Health and Welfare Fund contracts with the Actors Fund to be your member assistance program. We provide free confidential support and assistance for you and your family members. Our social workers provide short-term counseling and support, identifying problems, and when appropriate, provide referrals to outside specialists and community agencies. We help with emotional, family, and marital problems with stress, substance abuse, financial, and workplace problems, as well as senior care. I am pleased today to introduce our speaker, Christopher Bloodworth, National Director of the Career Center at the Actors Fund. As the Chief Workforce Development and Training Expert, he develops the policies and theoretical approach and service modalities that support the 3,000 performing arts and entertainment professionals who utilize these services annually. Prior to joining the Actors Fund, Christopher served as the Director of Education and Workforce Development at the Stanley M. Isaacs Neighborhood Center. He has also served in leadership roles at the Catholic Charities Brooklyn, Queens, and in the corporate sector at the Teachers Insurance and Annuity Association of America College Retirement Equity Fund. Christopher has a bachelor's degree in psychology from the college at Old Westbury and a master's degree from the Silberman School of Social Work at Hunter College. He proudly serves on the boards of the New York City Education and Training Coalition and the International Organization for the Transition of Professional Dancers. In addition to his formal roles, Christopher is a writer, photographer, podcast host, and an avid mentor to several young adults throughout New York City. So Christopher.
Thank you, Roz. Hi, Nneka.
Hi, how are you? First of all, I didn't know you were a Silverman alum, so I'm happy to hear that. So am I. I first of all want to thank you so much for being here. I'm so happy. There's so many questions that have come in that our members have. I just want to say something really quickly. We will not be able to answer all of your questions today. Some of the questions that came in are specific to the hiring managers, and so we are not ignoring them. We're just going to find another platform via email or another video to address those questions. So just please know that we're considering everyone, and we're going to try to get in as much as possible today. So Christopher, my first question is, how has COVID-19 changed the world of work? Right? I'm sure it has.
Well, it certainly has. And before I start, I just want to thank the leadership of Local 1 and you as well, Nneka, for inviting me here today to have this conversation with the members. I'm very excited to be here, and I'm very excited to share any knowledge that I have as to what's going on right now so that people are prepared, not just for today, but for the next couple of years when thinking about career and career management and career strategy as they move post COVID-19. But a lot has changed. The world of work has changed. I was talking to someone earlier today, and one of the things that I talked about was that this is something that no one was prepared for. And you can tell that so many people weren't prepared for this by the way in which it has adversely affected our economies, and not just here in the United States. We're talking about all over the world. And because we work and live now in a global economy, one of the things that we see and we know is that when something happens here in America, it has a reverberating effect across the world. And what happened in China in 2019 has now impacted the entire world. And so our global economy, our local economy is all feeling the effects of this. And work has shifted. As you can see, we can't really see, but I'm coming to you live from Brooklyn, New York. Normally I would be in Times Square at this moment. So people are working from home. Tens of millions of people have lost work. We are seeing right now levels of unemployment unlike anything that we've experienced before. Prior to this time, the largest period of unemployment happened in 2007, 2008 with the Great Recession, where we were seeing numbers of approximately 800,000 people unemployed. And now we're seeing tens of millions of people unemployed, and not just unemployed for a short period of time, but truly unemployed for now many people going on close to a year. And it has disproportionately impacted the arts community. One of the things that statistics that I've been quoting as I've been going through this is that this is the longest time that Broadway has been closed since the American Revolution. So we're talking about a significant impact on all of the people who work in performing arts and entertainment. And when we look at the numbers of unemployment or those people who are unemployed, what you'll see is like, okay, we're at 5%, we're at 6%, we were at close to 11%. But truly, when you look at the arts sector, we're talking about 60 to 65%, according to Americans for the Arts. 60 to 65% of arts workers are unemployed right now. And then when you add in people of color, that number jumps to 69%. So we are experiencing something that we've never experienced before, and work is definitely being impacted. There are very few employers hiring right now, and those that are hiring are looking for particular skill sets. And we are hoping that the vaccine, once enough people have been vaccinated, that we're able to return to work as normal. But even that will take some time.
Wow. So there are two questions that I thought about as you were speaking. One, because you talked about working from home, right? So how does one pivot and work from home? But before answering that, because there are so many people unemployed right now, what trends are you seeing, right? Because everyone's looking for work. So where is the work right now?
Yeah, the work is happening in places where it's coincidentally has been happening on trend with the last, I would say, 5 to 10 years. So we see a lot of work available in the healthcare sector. So if anyone on the call has ever been interested in doing any type of work in healthcare, and I'm not just talking about the providing of services or the treatment plan, but any type of work associated with healthcare, that is probably the top field right now where work is available. Also, anything related to computer and computer technology. E-commerce is incredibly popular right now and booming right now.
Can you explain what e-commerce is to everyone?
Sure. So e-commerce is anything from a personal shopper or personal fulfillment. So for example, for those people who may get grocery delivered at home, when you put in, this is what I would want you to deliver, there is a personal shopper who is walking around the store, who's gathering all that information, putting it in a cart, a literal cart, and then having it shipped to your home. And it's the same thing with like Amazon fulfillment centers, et cetera. So that type of work is incredibly popular right now, as well as the call centers and troubleshooters. So that type of work is really popular. Amazon.com is an employer that has done quite well during the pandemic, and they are continuing to hire. The hourly wage isn't necessarily a living wage for many people, but they continue to hire. I think right now they're at about $15 per hour, up to about $17 per hour in certain spaces for them. So there's healthcare, e-commerce.
Before you go, let me ask you a quick question. I'm sorry. Does
Sure.
TaskRabbit fall under e-commerce?
Yes.
Okay.
So TaskRabbit is a type of shopper as well. If there's anything, right? And I really like things like TaskRabbit because it's done based on your schedule.
Right.
Right. So you kind of like a Uber Eats or Uber Driver, for example, where you log in, and then once you log in, anything that comes in, you can accept and you can do it. Yes.
That can be like fixing things. I know that once I called TaskRabbit because I wanted someone to put my TV on the wall, right, and put the wall thing up, and I was just like, I don't know how to do that, and they charged for 3 hours of their time, and I was able to pay them. So that is something that someone was asking about. So you have e-commerce, you have healthcare.
Healthcare, environmental services are continuing to be a space where people are looking to grow. And again, that's everything and anything related to green and green jobs. So that's continuing to boom, as well as.
I'm sorry. I just want to break it down. What does that look like? What do you mean when you say green jobs?
So when I say green jobs, that is any job that's concerned specifically with the well-being of society and maintaining, right? So it's anything from helping to construct and erect windmills, anything from helping.
Kind of like roof paneling and things like that. I know a lot of buildings are coming up with window paneling and things.
Correct, right? So helping people, replacing windows, putting in energy efficient windows, and all of those different types of jobs that's associated with the green economy, changing out boilers, all of those different things. There are companies that specify in green materials, and they are continuing to thrive because more and more people are looking for energy efficient ways and to lessen their footprint in the world, right? And so more and more jobs are opening up in that sector, and that's not slowing down, and that will not slow down even post-pandemic. So that's definitely a space that people should be keeping their eyes on.
So how would a person, well, is that all on the list before I move on?
Well, I would say social services is another space that's booming. So if anyone on the call is also interested in, if you are a nurturer, a carer, you're interested in giving back to society in some ways, especially, for example, post this pandemic, we are likely going to see an increase in need from people who will be processing all that they've gone through as a result of the pandemic and the limitations that they face. So social services is definitely an area that is in demand right now and is increasing in demand. And if I were to pick out another area based off of what happened in June of 2020 with George Floyd, there's much demand for workplace diversity. So people who can come in and either train workers or people how to be more diverse and how to think in terms of diversity. That is another subset of the social service field that is in demand right now.
Right. So as I listen to you, I'm thinking, okay, this is amazing. Now people know where to go. How would someone use their skills now, and how would they be able to sell their skill set to pivot into these new fields, right? And I'm talking about the person. I know there's two avenues we're thinking about based on the questions that we receive from members. There are some people who are just like, I need to build my resume. How do I sell the skills that I have? How do I find these jobs? How do I search for these jobs? And then later on, we can go into how do you use the skill set to become an entrepreneur. But I want to start there. You know, I'm looking for a job in green jobs, right? Because I'm thinking about our members who are builders and can do that kind of work. You know, how do I say I've had this background in Broadway, but I have this skill set, right? How do I put this on a resume? Where do I go? How do I use the internet? You know, a lot of members, not all, but many members, you know, have been working for so many years they haven't had to even think about this.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so just to go in and look for a job looks very different than it did 15, 10, 20 years ago, you know? And so where would you say someone should start?
Yeah, that's a really, really good question. And I want to start by first saying this. There is great opportunity for members of Local One. And the reason why I say that is because your skills are timeless and they are definitely in demand.
Right.
And one of the things that, one of the reasons why I say that is because hard skills are great skills, and soft skills are necessary skills. And I don't mean to undermine or demean in any way the importance of soft skills, but hard skills, tangible skills, having the ability to create something, to make something, to piece things together, those skills will always be in demand. One of the things from a workforce development perspective, I really like people to think about, you know, who are you at the core of your being? And that seems a bit philosophical, but it's an important step in figuring out how to reposition your skill set, right? Who are you at the core of your being? Because once you are aware of who you are, you can become better at positioning yourself in spaces that meet your needs as a worker. And what do I mean by that? All right, one of the things that you talked about, that Roz talked about when she introduced me, is she said, Christopher, he's done this, he's done that, right? So before I was a social worker, I actually worked in corporate America. When I was in corporate America, I didn't necessarily appreciate the work that I was doing. It was fun. I was working in taxes, and I loved the research part of it, and there was aspects of it, but I didn't feel fulfilled. I didn't feel as if I was doing something that actually was aligned with who I was as a person. And so that got me to thinking like, okay, well, I have a bachelor's degree in psychology, you know, maybe I need to go and do something else closer to that, right? And move out of the business corporate sector. And then I tried to figure out like, okay, what do I do then? And then I settled in on social work, and I loved social work, and I love social work. And yet social work isn't all that I do, right? So I'm also a photographer because I like photography. And I'm also a writer because I enjoy writing, right? And I'm also a podcast host because I enjoy talking and sharing things with people. Right. So all of these things connect to one central purpose, which I think is based on who I am, which is I am a person who helps other people become. Right. And so through all of the work that I do, there's a line through it that I am helping other people through the type of work that I do. Right. And so when I ask people, or when I advise people, that if you're looking at pivoting, if you're looking at repositioning yourself in your work, start with who are you as an individual? Are you someone who loves working with your hands? Are you someone who loves working more independently? Are you someone who enjoys working as a part of a team? Are you someone who enjoys
Storytelling, right? Podcaster.
Correct, right? That once you begin to understand more about those parts of yourself, then you can begin to position yourself into a space. Another thing that I tell people to do is write a list. You know, take some time this week, this afternoon, next week, and just write a list down of everything that you see as a skill of yours. Everything that you see as a skill. If you're a good communicator, write that down. If you are someone who enjoys teaching people, write that down, right? Because you wanna get an exhaustive list of all of your skills. All right. And then you also want to get a list of, you not want to take it from yourself. You also want to ask people around you, those people who know you well, and have them also provide you with some information. What do you think I'm good at? What do you think? When do you see me at my best? Because once you do that, you are able to then compare your list, and then you should start to see some themes in there, and those themes will begin to help you understand where you might find your next opportunity, your next jump to a new or different or accompanying career or job.
Right. That makes sense.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It makes a lot of sense. So I'm assuming at that point, once they get that list together, and they need to write a resume, they can come to the Career Center for resume writing, right?
Resume writing is a skill.
Yeah.
It really is a skill. But more than a skill, it really is a story. You are telling a story and that's why I like to break it down for people, because I think people look at a resume as this list that's supposed
All
to.
the things I've ever done in my life, right? All the places I've worked and why.
Correct. It's not that. It's a story. So once you know a little bit about who you are, and you know a little bit about what your skills are, and you know where you want to begin to position yourself, your resume should tell the story of how you are moving from one space to the next space, right? They should tell the story of why you should be considered for this particular opportunity. And one thing that I know that a number of people dislike, but I really want to emphasize this, the resume has to be tailored to the position or to the job you want. It cannot be a general one size fits all. It's a resume will never be that. It has to be.
Right. I'm glad you said that. I'm only interrupting because I saw a note that someone put that a person could go into Google and use a template. And that's true, right? If you're really good and you already know your skill set, you can just throw it in a template. But why I'm recommending the class is because how do I write this down in a way where the person who's reading it is very clear about what you can do now, if that makes any sense.
That
right?
makes sense.
And so I can assume if I'm moving from one job to the next that needs the same skill set, it's easy to jump into a template. But if you really want to word it in a way that says, yes, I worked here and that's great, but I don't really need you to look at where I worked, but I need you to look at what I did and how you can benefit from that. This would make sense.
And that's the story. That's the story part, right? The story is giving examples to the person who is hiring of your ability to carry out the duties that are required for the job. And another thing that I want to tell people, because right now we're living in this digital age, and it's very hard to escape the fact that we're living in a digital age. If you're looking for a traditional job, almost all of the jobs are going through an application tracking system, or what I call the ATS, application tracking system. And this application tracking system is looking for keywords, and this is why it has to be tailored. Because if the job description specifically states a buzzword or a couple of buzzwords, if your application or if your resume does not have that, you will be spit out.
It's so funny you said that. I remember a couple of years ago, I was applying for a job in the hospital, and I wanted to work there. And I knew I had the skills. And for years, like 3 years, I kept putting in all these applications and nothing. And finally, I spoke to someone, and they're like, your application is not even getting to someone's desk because you don't have these keywords on your resume. And the moment I went and looked through the what was needed and picked out what I thought was keywords, in a week, I had an interview.
There you go.
Right?
I think a lot of people spend a lot of time thinking about what their resume looked like, or putting it in, as the person mentioned, in a really nice, beautiful template. But it really is about the words, because the application tracking system isn't looking at the design, it's really looking to see if you've captured the words. And our resume workshop helps you begin to understand how to do that, and why it's important to do that. Definitely we recommend people take that workshop, because that workshop will truly help those who have no idea how to do any of what I'm talking about.
Right.
You'll with some great knowledge as to how to move forward.
Yeah, especially with all the people applying now. There isn't one person looking at resumes like they used to, right? Okay, so now I have my resume. I'm good. I have a good resume. Where do I look? Right? Some questions came in and said, do I go through workforce? You know, where do I go? You know, you see these things with Indeed and things like that, but a lot of times those jobs you feel like you may not be qualified for, right? And they can be they can feel really scary, right? Sometimes when you look at them. And so where would you direct people?
Yeah, you know, I always have a soft spot when I hear questions about this, because it used to be so easy to find jobs back in the day, right? So I'm old enough to remember when you were looking for a job, that you would get the Sunday's Times or the Sunday paper, and you would go in and you would circle and highlight, and you would get out your fancy resume paper and you type up your resume, and send it out, and you'd wait for a telephone call. Now, as I mentioned, everything is going through an application tracking system. And so job boards are still really, really important places. So places like Indeed and Idealist and other spaces, monster.com, and all of those different places are great for looking for work. But I will tell you, perhaps the most important thing you can do is network.
Okay.
That is the most important thing to do, because right now, with the amount of people who are out of work right now, the most important asset in your job search toolkit, if I were to put it in that way, the most important tool in that toolkit is your network. Who do you know? And who do they know? Because that is going to get you closer to finding work once you've gotten your resume situated and you know who you are, you know your story. Once you've gotten all of those things together, that is the avenue that you want to travel, because there really is 6 degrees of separation. And one of the places that I advise everyone to go to, and this place can be a little bit scary when you're first venturing there, but LinkedIn. LinkedIn is an incredible resource, and not necessarily for the jobs that you find, but from having a network of people that you can reach out to and say, hey, do you know if anyone is hiring? Hey, I'm looking for something like this. I've noticed that you have 2 or 3 people on your list, your colleague list, that work in this industry. Would you mind doing an introduction between the 2 of us? Your network is your net worth. And that's something that I want a lot.
I like to hear that. Can I hear that again?
Your network is your net worth.
Right.
It's so important for people to think about that, because it's a job board is great. But it's like, you know, I played the lotto last week trying to win the Mega Millions. And you know, when I saw the odds, 1 in 300,000, 1 in 300 million people, I knew that my chances were low or light. And it's the same thing when you're looking at the job boards. And so the closest way to get there, and my best advice to people, is to figure out who's in your network and talk to them.
I like that. I like that too, because there was a question about, what if I'm not tech savvy? Right? And if you use your network, you don't need to be tech savvy, right? You just need to know who to call and let them help you. So I love that. So I want to pivot a little bit. So what about the person that says, you know, when do I consider working for myself? What if I've done this? You know, a lot of what people are looking for are temporary, right? For some it's their next phase. But You know, when do I decide? How do I know, you know, it's time for me, maybe I need to do something on my own and maybe this is not the avenue for me?
Yeah, I think there are two things that really underscore um, the American dream. I think one is owning a home, right? Getting a home and getting a place, right? I think that's a big thing that people aspire to in the United States of America. And I think the other one is starting my own business and branching out on my own. I think you know if it's time for you to do that, if you recognize or you realize that I'm at a space in my life where I'm ready to, this is going to sound a little daring. I'm ready to do things my way, right? I'm ready to branch out and create an environment that supports the things that are important to me,
Mhm.
that I've gained enough skill, knowledge, understanding, and working with other people that I now have the capacity. I see what can be done based off of what I've learned and what I know. And I think another way of looking at it too is that if you have a skill, an idea, a proposal, something that you know people need, you know they want, and it has not yet been fulfilled, or it hasn't been fulfilled for a certain subset of the population, then you want to do that thing. Then you know that you're ready. Now, entrepreneurship is not an easy thing. Working for yourself is not for the weak of heart. We actually have a program called the Creative Entrepreneur Project, which we help people begin to flesh out their ideas and begin to think through how to put into place their natural entrepreneurial skill set. But it is a challenge to do because now everything begins and ends with you. Um,
Before you go, I just want to ask a question based on what you just said. So when you said, you know, we talk about where to place that, do you mean where to market that, or do you mean how to build the business itself? Because some of the questions that came in was, you know, where do I start? Like, what about a business plan? How do I do an LLC? Do I need an LLC if this is temporary? Like, where do I start? I have a great idea, right? I have a member who makes these beautiful lamps, right? I make these beautiful lamps, or I make these bowls, or whatever, right? I make ornaments, whatever. What now? How do I get them out? What do I do?
yeah, before anyone spends any money,
Right.
please don't spend any money. Please don't hire anyone to do a business plan. Please don't hire. Please don't get a website. Don't spend any money. The first thing that you want to do is test your idea. And
Okay.
testing your idea, you want to find a low cost way to test your idea. And that could mean that if I design and build these beautiful lamps, as you mentioned, and these lamps are things that I believe that people would love,
Mhm.
right? Um, have a soft opening, and by soft opening meaning, you know, put together a flyer or two and send it out to people who you know love lamps or love interiors, or you know, who are creative types or whatever the case may be, and say, I have these fabulous lamps and I'm selling them at this price. You know, I have 5 left. Let me know if you or someone you know would like them. Right? That's what you want to do. You want to test. You want to put it in front of people. You want to see if people bite. You want to see how they bite, how quickly they bite, right? And it may not, and if they don't bite, it may not be that the lamps themselves or the idea that itself isn't good. It just means that you need to say, okay, this strategy didn't work. Let me switch and do this strategy. And marketing, they often have this thing, or advertising, they have A and B testing, right? So what they'll do is they'll take the same product and that same product, they will market it in one way, which is A, and then they'll market it in a different way, which is B. And doing that A and B testing really allows them to gather enough intel as to which one best meets the needs of the consumers that they're trying to get, right? And so A and B testing is a really low cost way of figuring out how you need to position your business or your idea in front of other people. So I would tell people, don't buy anything, don't impact, don't try to create a whole thing. Just test it out first. Test it, talk to people who you think may need it or may like it. And then from there, that'll give you enough insight as to how you need to proceed.
Okay. Okay. So now, so talking about LLCs and stuff, how does someone do that? Do they need to do that? I know you said don't go and just do a website, but let's say now I know people want this product. What do I do now?
Yeah, I
Where
think.
can I go if I can't,
Yeah, so there's a couple of things that I want people to think about. Incorporation is not necessarily something that you would need to do once you're ready to go. You may not necessarily need to even get an LLC or any of those formal things that happens. You can do something as simple as a DBA, which is doing business as. And you can get that at your local city clerk's office, where you can file for a DBA, which would be Christopher Bloodworth doing business as, Christopher Bloodworth Photography, for example, right? And so that will just establish me as someone who's doing business as X, Y, and Z. Right, so that's the first thing that I would do if you really wanted to legalize, that you could do that. Or I would say the next thing is really about building, here's that networking thing again. It's really about building out your audience and figuring out how you get the word out. A lot of people think automatically, I need to go to places like social media, etc. Again, that's not necessary. Social media is only if you believe the customers or the people that you're trying to reach are there. It could be simple, right, for those people who may be great at home improvement projects. It may be as simple as creating a flyer and putting it up on a local bulletin board in your neighborhood or someplace where you know the supermarket, where you know people will see, and then pulling those things off. You know what I'm talking about? Where you put it up in, right? And that could be
one, right?
Right. I was watching a YouTube video yesterday of a woman who was looking for someone to do some cleaning for her because she struggles with maintaining her home, and she kept putting it off, and she said she ordered some food and it was delivered by Postmates, and inside of Postmates was an advertisement, a card of someone who says I clean houses XY, right, with the information. And she called the person, and the person started within a week. So why am I sharing that? I'm sharing that because that wasn't based off of the social media. It was based off of a strategic relationship. It was a postcard. It was still paper, right? So those things still work. And so it's about networking. It's about positioning the material in the places where you think the people who need your services will be.
I'm glad you said that. It's interesting. I live in a building out here in Astoria, and I see that a lot. People will put up cards on our mailboxes of jobs or put up something. And so just even walking around your neighborhood, depending on where you live, can be extremely helpful as well.
Right. You can print off 50 flyers, 100 flyers, 200 flyers, and just put them in people's mailbox if you are doing home improvement, or if you can install floors, right? And this is the time now where so many people are at home, and they are looking for opportunities for looking for ways to improve their homes. And if you show up on their doorstep, they may say, come on in, I have this, I have that needs to be done.
So there was two things that you said that I really liked, or one thing, and I'm going to pivot a little bit. But you said don't spend any money. right? And I think that has come up when I speak to some members where they're like, well, you need money to make money. And how do I pivot without spending the money that I quite frankly don't have to spend? And so I'm glad that you were able to state, like, you don't need these things. If you want it, that's okay. But you don't need a website. You don't need to pay someone. And I know there are free classes. You know, I've taken free classes on how to do a business plan, right? Um, and so I want, before we leave here, for you to let me know all that you guys offer at the Career Center, so that people know what workshops and where to go. But two questions came up in the chat. One, and you may not know this, but how much does a DBA cost? Was a question. And the second question I have is, are temp agencies worth the cost?
Yeah, I think DBAs is different based on the cities that you are in. So depending on where you are, it may be.
Like $295, right? On average, I've seen.
Yeah, I'm looking up. Yeah, I don't think it's that much. I don't even think it's that much. I think it may be less than that. Let me see if I can look it up really quickly.
Okay.
A DBA, it could be as little, yeah, about $200 or so, or less to do that. So it depends on the city, right, or the borough, right? It depends on that, right? If you're in New York City or if you're in Long Island, or depending on where you are, the cost will vary. But you just want to do that research to figure out what it is. But it is significantly less than incorporating. So that is.
Really quickly, before you answer about the temp agency, because you said something about, you know, just do your research. And I know a question that came in was, how, I know this sounds really basic, but it isn't. Like, how do I research, right? Because I can put in cost of DBA, and before I get to the actual government website, the 7 websites before that will be ads and private companies who are charging me to do what I can do myself. And so how can someone navigate that? You know, how can someone navigate that? Again, this goes back to being tech savvy, right? Like, what is this?
Absolutely. So advice for business and for any type of research, but let's start with business. I would say that the Small Business Administration, I would look for government organizations. So anything that ends in .gov is probably, if you're looking for business, it's going to give you authentic and not .com, because usually anytime it's .com, you're dealing with a private entity. So Small Business Association, I would, or administration, I would look at them. SBA, you know, Small Business Development Corporation, which is another, SBDCs. Those are government-based websites where you can find out any and all information connected specifically to finding a business. And I would look at that. And it's the same, you know, one of the websites, and I will grab this and throw it in the chat as well. One of the websites that I advise people to look at if you're thinking about your skills, like I was saying earlier, if you look at onet.
Oh, I love ONET. Okay.
Yes. So onet.org is a, let me put it to everyone. I only put it to the
I
panel.
used to work for Workforce with a long time ago. But anyway, ONET was useful,
Yes.
especially when building resumes, right? Because sometimes you don't know how to describe the skill set, and or you want to know how much that, you know, particular job, how much is the salary, and, you know, and different things like that. And you can get all that information at ONET.
Yeah, ONET is absolutely the space that you want. So you can do a lot of research to figure out what your skills are and how those skills connect to various different occupations, and which of those occupations more aligned with who you are and what you want to do, right? So that gives you a little bit of a roadmap to lead you in a direction closer to what you want. There was another website that I wanted to put in the chat as well, and that was, I know that there were some questions around how do I build up skills and where do I need to go in order to build up skills? And a great place that I like to tell people, and this is specifically the New York Public Library, but there's this place called lynda.com. It's no longer called lynda.com. It's actually called LinkedIn Learning now.
Really?
Yeah, they switched the name to LinkedIn because LinkedIn purchased them.
Oh, okay. I'm like, okay.
I would tell people if there's any type of specific training that you're looking to do once you know what you want to do and how you want to do it, LinkedIn Learning or lynda.com, you can access that free of charge. It's a website. It's a website that's full of all types of trainings and skill building workshops, etc., that you can access for free if you have a public library card.
Which is free. So you can get a public library card. Right.
Right. So if you're trained on almost anything, you can get it through LinkedIn Learning. And I would advise people, if you don't already have a library card, to get a library card, sign up for one, and then you will be able to access that information. I see also Paul said that it's also free to IATSE members. So that's great as well. Yeah.
So to pivot back to the question that came up earlier, are temp agencies worth it?
Yes, and.
Okay.
Temp agencies are worth it. And temp agencies actually, we work with a number of temporary organizations. So that's another benefit of participating in our services because we have relationships with some temporary agencies.
Okay.
They are seeing a decline right now in the number of jobs that are coming in. So for example, one of our temp agencies, which is a national temp agency, and they have locations in about 30 different states, they usually would be working on at any one time about 700 positions nationally at any one time. When the pandemic first hit, that dropped to about 10 because people began
10? 10?
1-0.
Wow.
Right, so that's the impact again of the pandemic. People pulled out, and now they're up to about 70 or 80 when we spoke to them last week. So it shows that things are coming back. And one of the things that temp agencies are doing is that they are beginning to staff up because they know that the demand is going to come as soon as enough vaccinations are through. So temp agencies are not all bad. That's the good part. Here's the tough part. And this also goes to the first question that you asked me, what's changing? What's changing is that people do not want to hire people right now who are not interested in the long haul. And so that's something to be mindful of. And the reason why is because they want people who are going to come in and stay.
Right.
And so this is the tough part of this conversation. And so they are screening people with very precise questions to figure out, are you just doing this right now because of the way that the environment is? And this is specific to temporary agencies. Are you doing this right now? Or are you, because they want to maintain a relationship with their client base. And so they want to bring in people who are going to ensure that their clients remain happy. And they don't want people who will come in and then drop it. So that is becoming much, much more prevalent, that they want people who are committed, and they also want people who actually have the skill set. So that's the downside of it. So if you have the skill set and you also are looking for something that is much more stable and you're ready to commit to it, then I would say yes, temporary agencies are good for you.
So we're already at 10 minutes left. So really quickly, this is a question that came up before. How does someone determine if the job is worth it? And what I mean by that, there are a lot of members getting unemployment. And so sometimes getting some of these jobs will have them no longer qualify for unemployment, but they're not jobs that can really sustain. And so how does one determine what's the best route to go? If that's the case, does it make more sense to pivot into entrepreneurship and, things like that?
Yeah. That's a no. That's a. There's no one size fits all
Right.
uh,
I know.
question. I think the best way of answering that to people who may be thinking about this is, you know, I think in general people have uh, a a compromised relationship with work, right? I think people have a very love-hate relationship with work. And work, is, one of my favorite poets said that work is love made visible, right? Khalil Gibran said that. And one of the reasons why I love that saying, work is love made visible, is because I think when it's time to say yes and jump is when you found something that connects squarely with who you are, that you can see yourself doing it. And it's like, wow, I'm having fun, or wow, this is great, or wow, right? That is when I would say do it. And also, if it's meeting your needs, that's another reason, right? Because I don't want to get so much into esoteric stuff. I want to really like reel that back and say, does it meet your needs, right? Is the salary something that you can agree on, right? That's very practical right now. And people need to be asking themselves that question right now. Can I live off of this? Can my family live off of this? And if my family cannot live off of this, or if I'm not able to live off of this, then I may not want to take that jump. Or is this just one piece of a puzzle? And then I'm going to add another piece and shortly, or there I know another piece is coming. Then I would say jump. But beyond that, that really is an individual question. And
Right.
my thing always is do the work that you love. And if you can't do the work that you love, do the work that makes sure that the ends meet.
Right. So we only have a few minutes left. I had another question. I have a few more questions, but you may or may not be able to answer this. We might have to do a part two. I thought we would have to do a part two. So I'm happy to know that we might have to do a part two. But a question that we didn't get to really get into is, how do I find stay-at-home work, right? And so, work from home employment. And where does someone look for that, and how? And I know there's some places they can go. You may not be able to answer right now, so we can answer that later. What I do want you to answer right now, though, is how do they get to the Career Center? What does the Career Center offer? What kind of classes can they take there and seminars? What is available?
Yeah. Briefly, with the other one that you answered, e-commerce again is, if you are a person who has great customer skills, you like engaging and interacting with people, you like, talking on the phone, solving problems, etc. E-commerce is definitely a space where you can consider work from home, because again, Amazon.com is hiring tons of customer care individuals, right? So people, calling, I didn't get the right item, this didn't happen, blah, 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 right? So go ahead.
I was gonna say, I know they're still hiring for like tracers too right now.
Right.
And that's available.
Well, the difference with the contact tracers is that takes you outside of the home, though. There is some work inside of the home, but now that the city is open, you may have to go out and actually find out where people are that you're not able to reach by phone. So that's the thing with the contact.
I did not know that. One more question you may or may not be able to answer, but someone asked, have we addressed arts grants and funding for artistic projects and creating a not-for-profit?
Yeah, I think those all fall under the, most of them, and I will talk about one, they all fall under the business questions, or the business thing that I was saying, is figuring out what it is. The challenge with arts funding right now is that so many arts budgets have been decimated by the pandemic. So that is a real hard thing. A lot of cities, a lot of states have pulled back funding. A lot of nonprofit organizations are struggling right now that usually would provide arts funding, are struggling right now with their donors, et cetera. So it's not that one cannot start one or that one should not start one. It's just that arts funding in and of itself is a lot more compromised now than it was in years past. And then really quickly, one of the things I wanted to ask, the question you asked before, is how do you get to the Career Center? Every Monday, we have an orientation that we encourage everyone to go to because they will give you a lot more information than I gave you about who we are, what we do, and how we do what we do. And so that takes place every Monday at 12 noon Eastern time. And you can access that remotely by visiting our website, www.actorsfund.org. And once you get there, you want to go to our calendar. And on our calendar on Mondays at 12 o'clock, you will see the space where you register to participate in that particular program.
So,
and you take a part. Once you go through orientation, you have access to all of our workshops and services that we provide to the community.
okay, so one, you must complete orientation, is what I'm
Yes.
hearing you say. And two, what are some of the things that you offer? So I know you offer resume writing. What else?
We offer resume writing. We offer workshops, assessment workshops, which helps people to figure out what my skills are.
Okay.
How do I figure out my skills? How do I transfer my skills? We offer those workshops. We offer workshops on portfolio careers, which is helping people figure out how to develop multiple streams of income. So therefore they offset some of the challenges that happen as a result of COVID-19, but just working in the arts and entertainment industry, you're always going to have an episodic career. So we offer workshops like that, resume, and a number of other types of things and services. Yes.
All right. Well, we have 1 minute left. We just took up all of the time. So I just want to say thank you so much, Christopher. I mean, I think this was so informative. I'm hoping everyone walked away with a lot of information. I know that I did. I want everyone to just wait a few minutes for a survey. And depending on some more questions that come in, we may have a part 2.
Yeah, I'd be welcome to come back for a part 2. Someone asked if there was workshops on Microsoft Excel.
Yes.
We did used to offer those workshops. It's hard to offer those workshops now in person because of COVID-19. But again, this is the benefit of lynda.com because they have tutorials on there where they teach you step by step how to utilize that that software. The word was losing me. But yes, lynda.com or LinkedIn Learning you will be able to get all of that information on how to utilize that.
So please, everyone, please, 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 if nothing else, get a library card ASAP, because that library card will give you so much access to information. Again, thank you so much, Christopher. Thank you, Actors Fund. Thank you, members, for showing up. And we will see everyone soon. If you have any more questions, please contact me or contact Rosalind Gilbert. Thank you, Chris.
All right, thank you.
Bye.
Have a great
Yeah.